people focus more on my reactions rather than the thing that caused the reaction, and then I'm the bad guy for how I react to a thing. And then the thing about that is that people can either choose, like, people are either choosing to misunderstand that because they know deep down there's a guilt or fault or a truth, or they just don't get it. They just don't understand. They lack the emotional awareness. And that's unfortunate. Those are the kind of people that you kind of have to, like, forgive, for they do not know any better. Which fucking sucks. Earlier, I thought about this idea of continuing to hold up the light. And like last year, there was a moment where it felt so fucking heavy, and I was just like, why do I need to keep holding up this light? Like, this is starting to get exhausting, isn't it? And I think that's natural. I think that's part of progress. I think that's part of evolution. I think we don't talk about that, though. Holding up the light for Earth, humanity, the frequency, holding up the frequency. It's fun. I mean, it's fun. It's worth it. It's valuable all the way through, but I think that it becomes something else after this heroic moment. I think that that's probably how holding up the light starts, like this heroic moment. By the way, I know I'm gonna go all over the place with this. I'm gonna try to bring it back to where I started with the villain. But yeah, holding up the light. See, it sounds like we're talking about two complete different things, but let me cook. So, yeah, holding up the light. Like, it sounds heroic. I'm sure it starts off feeling heroic. But it is a responsibility, and so then, from being a heroic thing and cause, it becomes a noble thing because you're doing something. Mind you, none of this, tapping into yourself and finding the light within you and finding the power within you. None of that is for validation. None of that is for reward. None of that is for anything. It is a responsibility. And so it starts off heroic, right? Because once you got the frequency, once you got the light, it must be grounded. And it's in that groundedness where you also got to watch your ego. But, I mean, you got to watch your ego as you ground. Once it's grounded, it's a heroic thing. It is a noble thing. It's necessary. It's important work. Because on the opposite end of that spectrum, you have people who intentionally have nothing better to do but sit down and intention harm on other people. So, holding up the frequency. If you got it, you got it. I think that's where there's a point in that where it's important to be mindful to not drain yourself. Because I definitely drained myself. And so, it felt overwhelming. Why did I bring that up? it's just a bunch of processes, um, and a lot of things happening all at once. So, villain energy, dark feminine energy, dark masculine energy. See, to me, it's such a fucking. There's a word for this. I'm sure there's a word for this. There, like, it's just two opposites existing at the same time. It's not paradoxical because I feel like paradoxical like distinguishes both of them, but for them to come from the same root, to come from the same thing, like I don't know how to explain this thing right now. Two people are looking at the same thing, but they have different perspectives of that one same thing. But what is true is the only thing that is true. I mean, we could go deeper with that, but yeah, what is true at that point, right? Sleep on that. But anyways, because I'm the person that is being observed, I know what is in here, right? And so it kind of fucks me up a little bit sometimes. Maybe it's one of those radical truths to accept as you step into your power, but it fucks me up that it doesn't really fuck me up. I think when it fucks me up is in moments of validation, if I'm being completely honest. Because at the end of the day, I'm grounded in the truth that only I know the truth. And so, like, I don't have to convince anybody about that. And I'm not here to convince anybody about that. And I think that that's a constant reminder to myself also. So, yeah, but I think that whole idea and concept is fucking crazy to me. How we will always be a different person to everybody. Like, even if you have two siblings, like, you're always a different person to each of them. You're never the same person to anybody. You're never the same person to anybody. No matter how long they've known you, you're never the same person to anybody. Yeah. Let me see. I feel like my hand's been shaking, but yeah, this is my little video diary. I'm navigating these thoughts, and I want to be more intentional about it because I know that there's gems in it, and I know that it's something that needs to be heard, but maybe I'm just not comfortable with like being all like teachy and like lectury about it. So I'm trying this, and I'm gonna see how it goes. But yeah, I should call it like villain diaries or some shit. Gotham Diaries or something. Because what I was thinking of, the whole people looking at, like, people will never have, like people just seeing different things, but you're always the same thing. You're not always the same thing, but you know, because I was thinking about, oh, we're at 9 minutes. Okay, let me see. What the fuck was I thinking about? Let's look at the sky while I think. I don't even know, bro. You're never the same person to anybody. Fucking crazy. Oh, because villain sounds very dark, and it sounds very like, yeah, just dark and evil. And I think just the power in who I am is to just be the in-between, because I can't say be the villain, right? I'm trying to step away from that, and that's why I'm being more intentional with it, because I'm not just the villain. And even my goodness is villainized, and even the bad can be worshipped, right? So I think that the villain is just a very interesting concept to me. And it feels very neutral when I apply it to myself, for that very reason, right? That, like, for the fact that two different people could be looking at two different versions of myself. That's why the villain, when I apply it to myself, feels very neutral. Because I know how that flows within me. And I can't consistently and constantly paint myself as a bad guy. Like, that's not okay. Like, that's not healthy. So, neutrality. There's a neutrality in that. Yeah, that feels very much like a shadow aspect of villains. There's a neutrality, because if you think about it, every villain, every Disney villain, in their head, they think that they're doing something noble. They're doing something for a good cause. And they have this opposition. I gotta make a part 2. They have this opposition that they don't give a fuck. They have this opposition, and they're determined. They have a goal, they have a vision, they know what they want, and they're not gonna let this opposition get in the way. Sometimes it takes drastic measures to get shit done. They don't give a fuck about likability. They don't give a fuck about comfort. They don't give a fuck. At that point, you're going against everybody for the most part. You're trailblazing in this way. And that's why duality is always important. It's always important. It makes space for empathy. Empathy could maybe have stopped a lot of villains from getting to the extremes that they allowed themselves to get to, that they were pushed to sometimes to get to. There's an empathy in that. Isn't that fucking crazy? Yeah, but I think that this is the gist. And then I think for another video, I definitely want to get into specifics about that, because I think about, like, social movements and social change and comfortability and complacency. But also in my own personal life. And going against every fucking body and being looked at crazy. Or experimenting and trying things. Experimenting in the whimsical, experimenting in the mystical, fucking up in the mystical. Like, these are real fucking things. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna definitely talk about that in the next one.